Hello, my name is Jesse Wong, and today I'll be talking about the Japanese-American internment. This was a mass migration movement of the Japanese people to the American War relocation camps. This migration occurred during 1942. The migration happened during World War II, shortly after the bombing in Pearl Harbor by the Imperial Japanese. This was a sustained migration that lasted for 4 years until 1946. Around 110,000 Japanese Americans were put in the relocation camps. The main cause and the major push factor of this migration was that the American government began to feel paranoid after the bombing, as they were all afraid that there might have been some Japanese spies in America. So they took all Japanese people and put them in the relocation camps. This migration was a forced migration, as this political cause led to the Japanese people living in the U.S. having to go to the relocation camps involuntarily. The Americans forced them to go just because they were Japanese, nothing more. Even if they were loyal to the government and had good jobs, they were stripped away from everything and forced to the relocation camps. The effects the migration had on America was that this allowed the real spies to be isolated, so they wouldn't be able to spy on America's actions. Although they forced the innocent Japanese to the camps, it was a desperate measure by the Americans, and in turn led to the spies being found out at the end of the war. However, the American government were accused of racial discrimination and prejudicial treatment, in turn giving out a bad image to the American government. Some positive opinions from the American citizens were that the internment was necessary to stop the spies in the U.S. They believed it was justice after the bombing in Pearl Harbor. However, many of the Japanese Americans believed that it was cruel. The government had forced them to sell all their property, houses, companies, everything. The relocation of the Japanese Americans was all based on national origin and ethnicity, and nothing to do with fact. Therefore, many of the Japanese Americans who were innocent were affected negatively by this mass migration. Here is a short video by actor George Takei about the internment camps.
I remember, that unforgettable day, that terrible day when American soldiers came to the front door of our house to order us out. He carried a bayoneted rifle, and I was 4 years old at the time, but, your parents' tension, my mother was crying, we'd been packing, all that transfers. You really don't understand what's going on, but I will never forget. And simply because we happen to look like the people who bombed Pearl Harbor. There were no charges, there were no trials, no due process. We were summarily rounded up and put into these barbed wire, sentry tower, machine guns pointed. It was a concentration camp, pure and simple. The euphemism was relocation center. It sounds very innocuous. Machine guns pointed at us, armed soldiers, barbed wire. When we came back, I started school again, and I had a teacher that continued to refer to me as that little Jap boy. That stung. It was a dark chapter in American history.